I hope I don't have the same problem with my papers. Bear with me if I do. I'm under instructions to keep this short, which is very difficult when you have 40 years to talk about in 5 minutes. I'll just say that again in case you missed it. That's 40 years to talk about. Anyway, I'll start at the beginning, or to be precise, 13 days on from the beginning, on the 26th of June, 1967. On this day, our mum sent a letter to her mum, our grandma, thanking for a doll she had given to our sister Naomi. In the letter, Mum said, and I quote her words directly, Thanks too for Nem's doll, a great success. Though he is called Charles, not Charlie, she insists. No bottle for him. He has to get the same treatment as Timothy. This amused us. He seems to be slightly more advanced than Timothy. In other words, he wears a sweater by day, no nightie, and Mother doesn't see why he needs 2 nappies, unlike Timothy. As you can see at this point, Mum didn't hold up much hope for young Timothy. She thought Naomi's doll was more advanced than him, had to use 2 nappies on him, and just to humiliate him further, made him wear nighties. I'll come to that later. You'll be relieved to hear that Tim did advance, or at least physically. By the age of 10, he had outgrown most of his friends, thanks mainly to his healthy appetite. In fact, his obsession with food was first seen in a book I have in front of me. This book here. And I'll be leaving it on the table for everyone to read when they have their dinner. The book is called The Adventures of Sloppy and Rough. It's about 2 fish that had many adventures, but also always seemed to have time for a spot of food. On page 2, Sloppy woke up and went to find some breakfast. Page 3, after being swallowed and then getting out of a whale's stomach, Rough phoned up Sloppy to ask if he would like to have some lunch with him tomorrow. Page 4, they both went to find something to eat. And finally, page 5, after Sloppy had escaped from a fisherman's hook, they had something to eat. The novel was also not to be the end of his artistic pursuits. At school, he was in the choir, school plays, and even played a musical instrument. In fact, he was a bit of a nerd. But this changed when he discovered the 80s. And overnight, his hair, which had been of the pudding bowl variety, was big everywhere. And I don't just mean at the back, it was long at the back, it was big at the sides. And also, it was blonde. He discovered sunning. In fact, he thought he was so cool that he even wore a red ribbon around his wrist. In 1985, he became so cool that he got himself expelled from school. Not many people know this, but he was actually expelled from school. But this wasn't for partying or drinking like most people would be expelled from school. This was for going to the cinema. And not even an adult cinema at that, just a local multiplex down the road. In any way, they let him back 2 weeks later. But it was a good try to get expelled. As the late 80s came along, Tim jettisoned the sunning and the white slacks and got down to firstly some serious drinking at university and then some serious pest control with his first job at Rentokil. As far as I know, Tim was good at getting rid of rats and the like. I don't know how, because his van, which I saw quite a lot, was usually full of CDs, golf clubs and often yesterday's lunch. Maybe he just got rid of the rats by enticing them with a cheese sandwich and then banging them on the head with a 7-iron. Tim's van was a real mess. Then again, Tim has always been messy. As a kid, Tim's idea of clearing the room was to shove everything under his bed. And I mean everything. I've been reliably informed by his friend William that this includes a copy of Mayfair. We actually bought it from a friend at school and then sold on for a profit. His cleaning methods have never really developed as he got older. I saw that on Thursday when I went to his house. And in fact, he actually lost a rental deposit on a house because it was so messy. And this is after he'd taken the landlord to court. And I'm glad to see that Lynn, well, I was going to say I'm glad to see that Lynn seems to have sorted it out, but I'm not so sure now. Anyway, back to Rentokil. Tim's job at Rentokil, as many as you know, took him to Newbury, which, for the benefit of the Irish here, is a town quite near the M4 in Berkshire in England. In fact, it's 4 miles from the M4. Sorry, I should explain that the M4 is a motorway that comes from London to Bristol. Before that, he lived at Chippenham in Wiltshire with Mum and Dad, which was 4 miles from the M4. His next job after Rentokil took him to a place called Reading, which was 4 miles from the M4. Then came Slough, 4 miles from the M4. 4, I checked it. And then Burnham, which I'm sure you can believe is 4 miles from the M4. I can suspect you see a theme emerging here. Tim seemed to use the M4 as others might use a comfort blanket. I'm relieved that Lynn has last dragged him away from his beloved M4. But, when I checked this, I know there is an M4 going out from Dublin. So you better watch out, Lynn, because soon you might end up at a place called Leixlip, I think that's right. Leixlip, and Kilcock. Is that right? Yeah. So there you have it, Tim's life in 5 minutes. There are many things that I've missed out, such as his university days, but I'm sure Kaylor, Jeremy, Chris and Molly can tell you all about that. I know Jeremy and Kaylor and Chris are here, so if you get hold of them later in the evening, ask them about it. There's also Tim's interrailing around Europe with Bill. Again, he's sitting here, so you can ask him about that. When you go to Bill, I'd like you to ask him particularly about what Tim let slip out at Belgrade train station while wearing a very tight pair of brief shorts and talking to a couple of German girls. And then, of course, there's the 6 months Tim and I spent travelling together in India, Asia and America. There are too many things to mention about that, but what I can say is everyone should all they can do to keep Tim away from water parks, especially if they're in Hong Kong. I just have one last thing to say, and that Tim is actually, I do mean, it's a great brother. People say we're similar, and that's probably why we get on so well. Also, I'd like to say that Tim and Lynn make a great couple. I'm so pleased to have Lynn as a sister-in-law. I wish them all the happiness in their life together. Anyway, I don't want to finish there. I would like to go back to that letter in 1967 and see how Tim is now from that letter. I think he has come a long way since that letter, and he has advanced a little bit. But as far as I know, and correct me Lynn, he no longer wears nighties, even though he just admitted he did, but I didn't know that. But I have heard it rumoured that he still does wear 2 pairs of nappies. I'd like to join everyone and also raise a toast to Tim and Lynn.
Tim and Lynn.
And that concludes the speeches, and it's time to have something to eat.